Hello and welcome to the A Cuppa with Anna podcast. This is the podcast I started to basically keep myself amused during lockdown. And you're my fourth guest now, Jeff.
Oh, that's good. You've got
I know. I just want to do one every day at the moment. So yeah, this is a podcast where basically people come on, have a cup of tea with me. Oh no, I forgot my cup of tea tonight. I've actually forgotten my cup of tea because I was just rushing around, faffing around. Like I was quick, have a shower, get here, and I was unprepared. So yeah, you can just have a cup of tea on your own tonight, Jeff. Sorry. So yeah, this is the podcast where people have a cup of tea with me, talk a bit about their lives, and some of the running themes are creativity and well-being. And this evening's guest is Jeff Sleeman. Jeff, I've been doing my interviews in the mornings. I'm not too great in the evenings. So if I fall asleep, just give me a bit of a nudge, all right? So Jeff is an actor and coach, and you do lots of different creative things, don't you?
Yeah. I do quite a lot of facilitation. Actually, I often add facilitator into my job portfolio description. A lot of what I do is using drama in sort of training and education environments that often involves both a bit of acting, but also kind of holding the space and coaching and helping people. So facilitation is also
sure. That was a far better description than mine. Thanks for that. But kind of what we were going to talk about quite a bit tonight was finding work that you really enjoy, because that's something that you're really passionate about, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
So Jeff, tell me a little bit about why that's something you're so passionate about. How did you come to being like this?
I suppose because it's taken me quite a long time to find work that I feel I'm really suited to, and it's kind of the way I use my talents the best. So I started, I trained as a civil engineer originally, largely because I was I had a Duff art teacher and a Duff music school, so I got channeled doing lots of maths and physics and things like that, and that kind of inevitably sort of took me towards engineering really, and that was suggested to me as a careers teacher. So yeah, I went to university and studied civil engineering, which was okay, but it didn't feel like it sort of lit me up greatly. It was kind of respectable and a good career and all that stuff. But I never quite felt I fitted in. I suppose that's the reality. So I dropped out after a few years and kind of went travelling, and then tried a few other things and did lots of different stuff. And it's really only the last 10, 12, maybe 15 years, I suppose, that I've sort of found my niche in the world of work, I suppose, and that has turned out to be something that's a long way removed from engineering. As you say, it's kind of acting and facilitation and coaching, really. So it's been quite a long and meandering journey, but what I've learned is that it is possible to find work that's actually really enjoyable and good fun, where you wake up in the morning thinking, if you've got a day's work, because I'm self-employed, so I do get plenty of days without any work. But that's okay.
Jeff, I'm just going to stop you there. Is there something on your microphone? Because the sound sort of, 1 minute you're loud and then you're quiet.
Really?
Is there something next to the speaker?
Not specific, I don't think.
No. All right. Just speak up. Is your volume on full?
Yeah. Well, the sound is.
You sound all right now. It's almost like something is just cleared.
Okay, I'll try.
So, Jeff, tell me about some of the steps that you took to trying to find work you love. I know this is a journey that we've both been on. And it can take a while.
Lots of blind alleys, really.
So you've been up lots of blind alleys. Tell us a little bit.
Not so much. We can talk about whether there is such a thing to say. Plenty of learning opportunities, I suppose. Basically, I tried, having dropped out of the job, I then did lots of different things, small building jobs, and went travelling and stuff. And then about whatever it was, 15 years ago, having never done the acting in my life or really had an interest in acting, so I decided I was going to try and be an actor. So I briefly went to drama school. It didn't go very well. And I think I realised that probably the conventional acting life wasn't really, I wasn't cut out for it, I suppose. It was very insecure and involved learning lots of lines. I'm not very good at learning lines. So,
when you say drama school sort of didn't go very well, it is. What do you mean by that? Just
got thrown out.
You got thrown out. That's quite impressive.
Takes a lot.
Is that because you didn't learn your lines?
Drama school? No, it wasn't that really. Drama schools are generally quite liberal and well, as everything goes. But no, it basically wasn't really the right course for me. Without sort of thinking it through very much, I enrolled in a very sort of classically based 3-year drama course, which really didn't fit what I was trying to do, which is explore performance in a wide context, I suppose. And I had some issues about time and money that was involved. But basically, I had a big argument with the principal, and they kind of said, "Well, if you don't like it, you can push off," kind of thing. So I did. It probably may have saved me quite a lot of money and a couple of years of possibly wasted time. I don't know. But I then discovered kind of applied drama, I suppose, using drama in a context of training. I did a 1-day workshop up at Mount View Drama School about corporate role play, just kind of using actors to help largely managers to improve their management skills, team building, team leading, that kind of thing. And that sort of gave me a much more appropriate direction, I suppose, for who I am. I'm never going to be a great Shakespearean acting. I find Shakespeare really hard work, and I hate learning lines. So I think the improvisational nature of role playing, and the variety, and the fact it's much more interactive, than being on stage or being on stage. So that's become the sort of core of my work, really.
Yeah. And you have a lot of interest within sort of the well-being side of things, don't you? So a lot of your work fits in with that. Tell us about some of the things you do with that.
Yeah, well, I suppose it's all wrapped up together. I think having work that you really enjoy and is fun and makes you feel useful, I think is really key to our well-being. Actually, it's like having a purpose in life, and that is for me a lot of what gives me purpose. Obviously, I have other hobbies and stuff like that, but I think having a sense of doing something that is useful and is really important. So I think that's key for me. It's about nurturing my spirit. I sort of myself buoyed up and excited a lot of it by the work that I do, actually, although I also obviously enjoy other stuff as well. That's part of it. And then generally, obviously, I'm not a great fitness fanatic, but I do a bit of yoga, and I try and exercise moderately and just look after myself. But I think this the whole thing about the mind body spirit connection. I mean, if you're feeling low and depressed and miserable, then that's not a good place from which to look after your physical health. Whereas if you're getting up in the morning feeling good and going to go, that gets you motivated, really. So I think that's key.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit like, with sort of lockdown, the situation we're in at the moment, I think that's almost why I sort of started doing these interviews. It was like, I need a purpose. I need something that's going to kind of lift me up and get me through. And I think this is always sort of my go-to. And this is what's getting me through. And it's so exciting, like talking to a range of different people, and I just feel better in myself. Like, I've got to say, I almost messaged you this afternoon and was like, oh, like it's an evening one, I just want to go to bed. And I was like, actually no, just push through. And I think sometimes it almost like the things that you do enjoy, sometimes they can feel a bit difficult to do, but actually once you're doing them, you feel better, don't you?
I entirely agree. I think that I can't say that I leap out of bed every day and get excited about going to do some work or something like that, but once I get started, then I do. And it is very much it's just overcoming inertia, I think. And once you get involved and interested, and your attention gets into something, particularly if it's something a little bit creative, then that just sort of, that's what draws you forward, isn't it, really?
Yeah, and you like to do quite a bit of creative writing as well, don't you?
yeah. It's one of I suffer chronically from lack of self-motivation. That's one of my problems. I can't find a way of getting through that. But I do, when I'm motivated to do some writing, that's usually when I'm doing a course or a workshop, or somebody like yourself gives me an exercise to do.
Then I don't do my end of the bargain.
Just explain again, we set each other a creative writing task about a week ago to write a short story, and I did mine and read it to you a few days ago, and you completely failed to keep
I
your
know. I've just been so busy with my interviews, you know, like I've just been so busy. It's not like I've got loads of time on my hands or anything. I've been writing songs as well. That's my excuse.
But yeah, I think writing is a very good, very therapeutic process. Again, it's something you get really absorbed in once you start. I do, as all these things, have trouble getting started sometimes. Spend a lot of time on the blank sheet, the fear of the blank sheet. But yeah, once I've sort of got started, then it starts to draw you in, and I really enjoy it. And yeah, I've written quite a few stories over the years, generally as part of a course or workshop. And I do find I need some reason to do it. I really struggle to get up and start writing on my own volition. I need something to get.
Yeah. What do you think? I mean, you know, I know a lot of your work is, like you say, facilitation with the acting, and that's kind of the route that you've gone down. And you do a lot of hobbies on the side and try a lot of new different things. What do you think the benefits are of, you know, trying these new creative things? How do they impact you?
I think it's always you've always got to keep looking for new stuff, haven't you? I mean, however engaging and enjoyable your current pastimes are, there's a point which I speak for myself. I get bored quite easily, I suppose. I've got quite a short attention span, so that's the reality. So yeah, I like there's a balance, because I like doing things that I know how to do, because that gives me confidence to do them. But then one can get into a bit of a rut, so it's important to sort of, on top of that, then try and develop some new things in order just to sort of keep things fresh, really, and keep going forward.
I'm totally with you on that. And I think particularly, you know, with so many people having so much time on their hands now, you know, I'm seeing on social media all the creative things that everyone's doing. It's amazing, isn't it, when you're sort of shoved in a corner, how you just find these creative ways of existing. I saw someone had made a den in their house, and they were in the den and with like a torch on their head reading. And I was thinking, I've been thinking about turning the corner of my attic into a den for ages. And after I saw it, I was like, I'm so going to do that now. I want a den that I can hide in, like, you know, crawl into and read my book in.
Going through our creativity, that's the lesson, isn't it? It's easy to see this whole lockdown thing as a ghastly challenge and a huge problem. But human beings are incredibly creative and inventive. And if we just allow ourselves to utilize some of that creative, there's actually no reason to be bored at all. Because we would be locked in for years, in theory. Not having we should be, but the mind is an incredible source of amusement if you know how to use it properly. And I think that's why we should be encouraging creativity for everybody. Really.
Yeah.
Gives you tools to keep you going, keep you motivated.
And it's very much about keeping curious, isn't it, as well? Because I think, like you say, you know, it's very easy to get into ruts, and actually, if you just keep it fresh, I think just going back to the work side of things, you know, maybe there's someone listening out there now and thinking, you know, like, surely it's not that easy just to find a job doing you love, you know, and it's not, you know, like you're saying, you went down a lot of different roads, as I have, you know, exploring so many different things. What would your advice be to someone who's maybe stuck in a job they don't like, they're not really sure what they want? What kind of steps could they take?
Well, there's several aspects that's out there. I mean, like you say, just getting the dream job, just like that, it isn't easy, because that isn't the way the world works, unfortunately. I think there's also something about, you know, your attitude, because the same job can either be a ghastly chore and terrible grind, or a real joy, depending on how you view it. So it's a certain amount of mental dexterity, I think, in seeing things in different ways, it can be very helpful. So it may just be doing the same job you do at the moment, but bringing a new attitude to it, or doing it in a different way, or something like that. So it doesn't have to be changing career doesn't have to be sort of cliff top jumping one. You don't have to sort of jump from that, you know, secure, well-paid job in Edinburgh to, you know, into nothing. In fact, that's probably not a very good idea, generally speaking. there may be ways that you can do what you're doing at the moment in a more interesting way. There may be ways you can do part-time, do less of it. A good stepping stone is to go part-time, if that's an option, and then to use the time that's freed up to explore new things. But it may not be jumping straight into other paid work. I mean, voluntary work is always a good way to try stuff out. Exploring, your own sort of creativity and just allowing space, I think, for it to develop. I think that's the best way, not to expect overnight miracles, but as you said, to keep being curious and say, well, what happens if I try that? What can I do that? And I met somebody recently who's she does a lot of photography, because she's been going and doing photographs of friends' weddings, and I said, tried doing buildings. Oh no, I couldn't possibly do that. And I said, well, why not? You're kind of doing it now, but you just, it's only another step forward. Maybe do a bit more and get more of a portfolio, and then, try stuff a bit more. So I think for most people, it is slowly, gently step forward and just try and steer yourself towards something that will be what you like to be doing. I wouldn't say it's not necessarily going to be a dream job. I mean, even my job is a dream job, but it is very satisfying. It's very suits who I am, and I can't think that I actually want to do anything else.
Yeah, and I think some people, a lot of people I spoke to actually don't want to turn their hobby into a job. They like to keep it as a hobby. And I know some people that have turned their hobbies into jobs and then actually ended up hating it because, so again, it's sort of different for everyone, isn't it? But I know, you talk a lot about volunteering. And I know I spent, when I sort of quit my 9-to-5 life, I spent 2 years volunteering, working as a cleaner on the side, giving myself loads of time. And I spent 2 years, I didn't know what the hell I wanted, and so I just kept trying lots of things, and then suddenly the path seems to narrow a little, well, slightly with me, because I like to do a few different things, but you just find your way. But it's I think it's forgetting the destination. You have to forget the destination almost, and just go, do you know what, my destination almost is just to explore right now.
Here's the other thing. I think this idea that we should drop the comparative value of work. I mean, obviously some things get paid better than others, but there is nothing intrinsically worse in being a cleaner than being the governor of the Bank of England, really. If you're doing useful work, contributing to society, occupying yourself, using your talents there, to that purpose, then that is all good. And I think this is something that holds people back a lot. The idea that work has to be preferably well paid. It has to be sort of something you go and do at certain hours, and then you stop doing it, and that kind of stuff. And actually, for me, I like the definition of work which the Fintorn Foundation up in Scotland uses, which is a big community up there, and they define work as being love in action. They say that the way we manifest our love in the world is through the work we do, and everything we do is valued in that way. And I think I see work in that context, and that voluntary work, care work, looking after an elderly relative, cooking for friends, anything we do that uses our talents to good effect is work and should be valued. So it's not a step down going from a paid job to a voluntary job. It's a transition. That's all. It's nothing to be ashamed of or think is being a down step, really. The other thing, I'm on a bit of a roll now. This concept I've been thinking about recently of horizontal career progression. There's people in conventional jobs tend to think about rising up through their careers. You start off making the tea, and then you sort of rise up to be the chairman of the board, and that's people are focusing on that as a way of sort of rising up through the ranks. And I think that's an old model. I don't think it's very useful in a lot of today's world. And I like the idea of the horizontal career progression, where you start off doing one thing and then you might move across and do something a little bit different. So maybe you are a tea boy, but then you sort of decide to start making some sandwiches as a private enterprise for the office, and then that develops into a catering business for the local industrial estate or whatever, and then you end up with a sort of big catering business, and then perhaps you add on selling books or something. So you kind of broaden your career rather than trying to climb a ladder. And I think
Yeah, and I love that, almost saying, it almost makes everything feel equal.
yeah.
We're all equal, like you say, whether you're a cleaner or whatever. Yeah, it's all
Yeah.
the same. It's depends on what success is to you. It's how you feel inside, isn't it? At the end of the day, you've got to come home. You've got to, go to bed with yourself each night and come home to yourself. No one else is in you. So. You've got to do what makes you happy. Jeff, what did you want to be when you were a kid? What did you?
A spy or a secret. I used to love things like the sort of James Bond films, and some of the TV things, Saint and Now from Michael, that kind of stuff. Really, creeping around and getting secrets and doing good works. Really, It's spent a lot of time. I got a younger sister who's 5 years younger than me. I used to make play secret agents with me, so we write secret codes and walk around with spud guns and which appeals to my secret today. I'm a bit secretive by nature, so it kind of works for me quite well.
Yeah, it's a bit like falls in with the acting almost, doesn't it?
Well, here's the really interesting thing, you see, because I was pondering about this. I thought, well, how have I achieved my role? No, I haven't become a secret agent or a spy. But I think, what of course I was identifying with was the actors who were playing those roles. So I have sort of become that, you see. So interestingly, it's come true in a rather roundabout way.
Yeah. You've done a few different things, haven't you? Right, I'm going to pull some questions out of my pot now. So these are a couple of surprise questions. Right, here we go. This is my favourite bit. I don't know why I just didn't do the whole interview of these. We won't go with that one because. Okay, do you have a special object? And what is that object and why is it special?
Well, I do. I haven't looked. On the spot. I've got. Yes, I do. I haven't looked at it for a number of years. I've got a. It's a very unusual circular. It's actually an oil jar. I'll jump olive oil in, but it's completely like a tube bent round in a circular jar. I mean, with a sort of a strap at the top. And I bought it in Greece when I went to Greece. This is 20 years ago on a holistic holiday to a place called Skiros, which is a holistic holiday centre where you go to do whatever you like, really. Well, that's where I first did a creative writing course, actually. And I also did a very short improvisational drama course, which actually was the spark that lit my acting flame that took me forward. So it was a very transformational 2 weeks. And as a souvenir, I bought this oil jar from Skiros and brought that back with me. And it did have a proud place on my bookshelf for many years, but it's been in the box for the last few years. I'm get it out again, actually. Yeah. It symbolises quite a big transformational step in my life. Yeah.
It's very appropriate. All right. Oh, this is a big one. If you could rule the world, what would be the first thing that you would change or put in place?
Oh, cool. Well, the trite answer, I've changed myself, isn't it? We can't change, things we need to change with our own, things that hold us back and things like that. The first thing I would change, because I just imagine I want to make sure everybody was kind to everybody else. I think that would be I think kindness for me is the most important attribute. Be nice to everybody, just nice to everybody, and that would be great.
Okay.
But I need to change my attitude and not expect that to happen, I think.
All right. I'm glad we've got this one. I think I'm going to start asking every person I interview this question. Tell me 3 things that you like about yourself.
I like my sense of humour. My sense of humour is a real lifesaver, actually. I often say to people, I think I would have been dead or locked away many years ago. It wasn't for my sense of humour. It really is a kind of saving grace. I can view difficult situations with quite a lot of a lot of humour, I suppose. I try and find the humour in even the most dreadful situations, and I think that's important. I mean, the tendency is that people think you're a bit frivolous sometimes, but actually, the point is that you can. The power we have in life is the way we react to anything. We can't control what life throws at us. We can control how we choose to react to it. And my choice is to find humour in it. And for me, that is a really good coping mechanism. And I did speak to a couple of psychologists a few years ago, and they said that it's seen as a very mature reaction to situations. So humour is a really key thing. So is kind of number one. So I like that. Again, there's a kindness thing. I like to think I'm generally kind to people. I don't always live up to my own high standards, but I try and empathise with people and understand about their situations and treat them in a way that I would want to be treated myself. That's an aspiration. Not 100% the whole time. And like everyone else, I find myself wanting sometimes. But generally, I'm kind to people and animals and all living things. Really, that's good. And the third thing, I think what I like is the fact that I've grown into who I am.
Okay.
I'm an introvert by nature. I'm quite internally resourced. I was very shy and a retiring child, and very easily embarrassed, and the slightest thing that would kind of throw me off balance. And I think through a lot of perseverance, I suppose, a certain amount of self-development and a few courses, I think I've sort of eventually sort of got over my childhood hang-ups to a large degree, and I feel I'm a lot more confident around people and confident with who I am and comfortable in my own skin, and also don't spend too much time worrying about what I'm not. I suppose I think that's probably quite an achievement. I think I'm quite proud of that. Yeah.
I think a lot of people could benefit from hearing those three things, Jeff. So thanks for that. All right, a few more things before we wrap up. I would like a book recommendation from you.
Okay. Well, the one I looked at is called A Brief History of Nearly Everything by Bill Bryson, who is the well-known travel writer. He's written lots of travel guides to Britain and Europe and things like that. And he's written this fairly recent book called The Brief History of Everything. It's kind of about science largely. It's about the universe, about space and scientific discovery in space. And he's got a lovely style. He writes in a very, very engaging and chatty and humorous style. And he really sort of makes me start to appreciate how big the universe is, how huge the whole of creation is in terms of time and space, and what a tiny insignificant part of that we all are. So no matter how we get wound up in our own stuff and our own problems, it's actually it's the blink of an eye and a speck on the face of creation, and none of it matters that much. That's the perspective. And he also talks a lot about the sort of molecular science and how small atoms are, and how all that stuff. It's done in a very, very easy to understand way with a little bit of history about how these things were discovered. So I think that's really interesting, just to kind of give you a bit of a sense of, to give us a bit of a sense of our place in the universe and creation. That's not to say that isn't important also, the thing, going slightly off the idea of duality, that we are insignificant, nothing really matters, but also at the same time, how I spend my life and what I do with it, and trying to do the best I can is also important. So you've got to be able to try and keep both of those, what appear to be conflicting ideas in your head. I think that's something that is, again, so in the book he talks about quantum physics and quantum mechanics, but that is very much the idea how the two what appear to be opposing ideas can be simultaneously true. It's like Schrodinger's cat, which is simultaneously both dead and alive, depending on the view of the observer, or light being both a particle and a wave, which our conventional, logical Newtonian view of the world wouldn't allow that. But we can have both ideas. So that's all. Nothing matters and everything matters.
Yeah.
Except for
All right, that sounds like a good one to read. Film.
I'm just repeating it in case somebody wanted to hear again. A Brief History of Nearly Everything by Bill Bryson.
Okay. And a film recommendation.
Well, yeah, I have to think about this because you sent this question through a while ago. There's loads. I mean, lots of different things from different films, I suppose. But the one I chose was The Usual Suspects, which, if anybody hasn't seen it, is a story of it's a criminal gang who get caught for doing I think involved in smuggling, and they blow people up. And Kevin Spacey plays one of the main characters, and he is taken to an interrogation room, and the police are basically giving him quite a third degree to try and get him to confess the crime. But he has this alibi of this whole other story that he tells them, like where he was, what he was doing, and stuff like that. And it's a very believable story. And the film intercuts the scenes of him in the police interrogation room along with the story he's telling, showing on the screen. But what transpires at the end of towards the end of the film is the story he comes up with is believable, so the police let him out, and they then twig once he's gone that all the things he's told them were just made up in his head, getting cues from things he saw in the room. So there's something written on the bottom. There's one really great shot where the policeman is drinking a mug of tea, and there's a name written on the bottom of the mug, and he uses that name to create a character in his story. And there's a poster or something on the wall, and he uses that. So the whole thing is fabricated by all these things he finds in this room, but it's so cleverly done, and it's a really good illustration of how creative our minds are, how it can create a whole believable narrative that somebody else will buy into simply by making yourself out from ideas we see in front of us. It's really interesting, and it's well acting. It's a good film.
Okay, thank you for that one. And last, say again.
I just realised I've given the whole plot away. I just realised.
Yeah, people probably don't want to watch that now. Well done, Jeff. And lastly, before we say goodbye, the wisest piece of advice that you've ever had.
Well, again, I pondered on this, and my mum, who you knew quite well, recently passed away a couple of months ago, sadly. This is one of hers, and I think it's something. Nothing else she ever taught me. I think this is the best one, really. And it's I think it's probably a biblical quotation. It's to thine own self be true. Means just be faithful to your own self and your own values and who you are inside, and don't be drawn into trying to emulate other people or do what other people think you should be doing. It's about being yourself. That's a really good.
Yeah, and this, I've got your mum here. I keep your mum next to my bed, and I talk
really
to her as well.
Really, yeah.
Your mum was awesome.
Yeah, she was. Yeah.
We could do a whole interview about your mum. I did interview your mum lots, but it's like a whole other interview.
Yeah, it's lovely. Yeah.
Jeff, thank you so much for chatting to me. You've completely frozen now, just at the end of the interview. So goodbye. Thank you very much to Jeff, and he's gone, so we can't say bye.